This video is not about who won the trade in the present or the future. Everyone pretty much has the same opinion on that, so let's try something different. This is strictly about Anthony Davis, what he brings to the current roster of the Mavericks. So this season, Anthony Davis is averaging 25.7 points, 11.9 rebounds, and 2.1 blocks per game. This trade was about becoming one of the best defensive teams in the league. That's clearly what the Mavericks are banking on. Over the month of January, without Luka, the Mavericks went 6-10 with the 22nd ranked defense in the NBA. However, their most played lineup was putting up great numbers. In 71 minutes in January, Kyrie, Spencer Dinwiddie, Klay, PJ Washington, and Daniel Gafford posted a 131.3 offensive rating and 105.4 defensive rating. And for the whole entire season, it dips down a bit, 129.2 offensive rating and 105.9 defensive rating. So clearly replacing Gafford with Anthony Davis should make that lineup better, and it's a good building block for their new team. And the one thing to watch for is the double big lineups. Clearly Anthony Davis wants that. He has been expressing it all throughout his Lakers career ever since they went away from it after winning a championship. And honestly, a common theme for successful teams in the NBA is large double big lineups. The champs, the Celtics, when healthy, consistently run lineups with Al Horford and Porzingis. The Cavaliers start Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. That duo carries their defense. And lastly, the OKC Thunder. If they were healthy this year, they would constantly be running lineups with Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein. The thing is, the Mavericks, when healthy, it's not just going to be Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively next to Anthony Davis. It's going to be a trio. Gafford, Lively with AD, and then you got PJ Washington. That's just unreal size, athleticism across the board, and most teams just can't compete against that size. And overall, I wanted to see the numbers crunch down when Anthony Davis is playing next to another big man. The stats defensively are alarming, but before we go into all these defensive ratings, I just want to put into perspective what a good defensive rating is and what a bad one looks like. The Thunder lead the NBA with 104.2. That's an outlier though, considering second place, the Clippers have 107.6 defensive rating. But now let's go to the middle of the pack. 15th ranked team for defense in the NBA, the Knicks, 113 defensive rating. Now, the worst defense, the Wizards, 118.4. Just keep that in mind as we go through these Anthony Davis stats next to big guys. So I'm only going to be showcasing the largest sample size over the years because the last 2 years, he's barely been out there with another 5. And in those seasons when it has happened, it's rarely happened with big minutes. It's been with Jackson Hayes. So it turns out this season, his most played lineup with Hayes has been 8 minutes. Such a small sample size. However, 87.5 defensive rating. Last season, 14 minutes played with Hayes, 93.1 defensive rating. In the 22-23 season, they had a bunch of centers. Thomas Bryant, Mo Bamba, Wenyen Gabriel, even Tristan Thompson. The only big he had over 10 minutes with was Wenyen Gabriel. His archetype is kind of like PJ Washington. 15 minutes played with Wenyen, 92.3 defensive rating. 21-22 season are the first bad results, with Dwight Howard 30 total minutes, 130 defensive rating. However, with DeAndre Jordan, that same season, 28 total minutes, 96.7 defensive rating. Luckily, we finally hit the seasons where they consistently played him next to a 5 every single game. The 2021 Lakers, coached by Frank Vogel, 281 minutes next to Marc Gasol, 107.1 defensive rating. Then next to Andre Drummond, 53 minutes, 111.5 defensive rating. And lastly, back to Marc Gasol minutes with the bench unit, 47 total minutes, 96.7 defensive rating. And finally, we are in the 2020 Bubble Championship season. Next to JaVale McGee, 389 minutes played, the largest sample size of the video, 103.7 defensive rating. Low-key McGee gives me major Daniel Gafford vibes. Next lineup with JaVale, And the bench, 294 minutes played, 114.4 defensive rating. Now with Dwight Howard during that year, 67 minutes, 108.8 defensive rating. It's safe to say Anthony Davis next to Gafford, PJ Washington, and Derek Lively should have a successful defense. If the Mavericks want to be serious, they got to be a top 5 defense after this trade. So ultimately, the main reason they made this trade after the addition of Anthony Davis and Max Christie is supposedly their defense should be one of the best in the league, if not the best. That's what they're hoping for. But the question remains, do they have enough offensively? Honestly, I just don't think so. Kyrie Irving has been averaging 24 points while shooting 47% from the field and 41% from three. He's been outrageous this year, but honestly, who knows where his head space will be at after this? He's great friends with Luka, and we know mentally he can bail on a team just like that. Anthony Davis and him are going to have to carry that load offensively. The farthest both have gotten in their career were as co-stars. So they haven't really proven that they can take you to the promised land as the bus driver. In the regular season, I think they can probably get away with it, but I really fear them in the playoffs. Like, what happens if they face the Rockets, the Thunder, and those teams have the perimeter defenders to shut down Kyrie Irving with their great perimeter defense? It really feels like Anthony Davis has to be Superman offensively and defensively for them to really make a run at it. But just being real, I don't think his body can hold up long enough for that to happen, which is pretty ironic considering that was one of the main reasons they traded Luka, supposedly. I feel like one of the most important players right now is PJ Washington. He's having a crazy season, averaging 14 points, but more importantly, he is a personality on that team that keeps everyone together. He has fire, he has passion, and he has energy, and the fan base really loves him. He's got to keep that locker room together and tight-knit, because I do believe there's a scenario where if the Mavericks start losing and losing and losing, the fan base is definitely going to be disgruntled. All of a sudden, you lose your home crowd because they're pissed Luka's gone. And because Nico and ownership did this all by themselves, the players can start looking around and being like, why did you mess up something good? Because if you guys have experienced the healthy Dallas Mavericks, you could tell they have a good vibe in the locker room. They like each other. They enjoy playing with each other. So if you take that away and it starts resulting in loss after loss, that's going to affect the team morale very negatively. That's really all I got, though. Let me know your thoughts below in the comment section.